The first instrument that I've ever played has made its way into my hands again for this episode of Rainquill Riffs. 18 years ago, I sold this instrument, and that instrument is an SG Ibanez. I could not be happier to have this thing in my hands again. There's a really cool story that I want to share with you guys before we get started. So the story behind this bass is that before there was Facebook Marketplace, there was Craigslist. I checked the demographics of the people who watch this, and you're from 28 to 34, so I know you know what Craigslist is. The dying years of Craigslist, you were here for it. I sold this bass to some guy on Craigslist when I was like 17 or 18. I met up with him, sold the bass, went off to get a Fender 5-string, which was probably the worst bass I've ever played, but it was a 5-string, and I was listening to Dream Theater at the time, and I wanted to be the next white John Mayung. I really wanted to be an exceptional bassist, and this was my very first instrument. So fast forward 17 years, my entire life has changed, but there's one thing that's remained the same, and that is my best buddy, Josh, who in the comments is Miho. He has provided me with the Ibanez Prestige series you see there in the back, and also coincidentally, he was the guy that I sold this bass before I even knew who he was. Please show some love for Miho in the comments because he's given me half of the guitars that I have on this channel, and without him, I wouldn't have the content that I've had for the past 23 episodes now. Show some love. Anyways, enough procrastinating. I'm gonna ride it bass first, so it's gonna start off with bass and drums, and then we'll add some guitar. I just love how natural that sounds. Program bass has been a part of my workflow for the past, I don't know, ever since I started. And this is just so refreshing. Kind of just like last episode with the Thal amp. I was refreshed with that sound, and now I'm kind of just refreshed again with how natural and Seinfeld sounding this bass is. Okay, I kind of just want to get a bass line. A little scratch take, so now I can just write some drum kicks in. And after I'm done writing these drum kicks in, then we can actually get a real take and then work on some guitars. You know, this sounds great and horrible at the same time. Without slowing it down, I could play this practically perfectly with the pick. But I refuse to. I want to learn something new. I want to step outside the comfortable box that I've been in for so long and do something fun. So the drums are tracked for this first little part, which got some kicks. It's really simple because I need it to be simple. Okay, I think we'll keep the first half of that, and now we can just punch in the harmonics that I want in there. Those two will work perfectly. It's not perfect. I know it's not perfect. None of this is going to be perfect. Trust me. This is not going to be as accurate as my previous episodes, but that's not really the point. The point is just for this to sound cool. And I know this will sound cool because in my head, it sounds cool. Let's get a rough mix for the guitars. This could be an entirely Miho-sponsored episode, but the Ibanez is in drop C. Good. I felt like some high quality sus. Sweet. Okie dokie. Okay, obviously we need the reverse cymbal and the impact. 3 hours later. So I was working on this behind the scenes and I realized it needs pick bass. I wanted to slap so bad I just can't. It just doesn't fit. I have to accept it. I have come to terms that I'm not clean yet. So we're going to write, not program, our first ever bass slide in Rainquill Riffs. I'm just trying to experiment a little bit here, okay? I mean, a bass slide isn't really experimenting, but you get what I'm saying. It's not complicated, right? Doesn't always have to be complicated, but man, does this rock. So I wrote a little intro also off camera. I really wanted to brainstorm. It sounds like this. I have a little bit of a phaser effect on it. I'm probably just gonna leave it like that because it's really hard. I was slapping that whole thing. Okay, so I can do it, see? Anyways, moving on. Got that little intro there. I have like a cymatics pack full of like hi-hats, 808s, and bass drops and stuff like that. So I added a teeny tiny little hi-hat on the second half of this first riff. Okay. Oh, I also kind of wrote a little bit of a drum part there as well, so I can just riff on it. For this part, I'm going to write the guitar first and bass second. Oh, this is the first two-step riff I've ever written. Hell yeah! On those triplets there, dun 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 dun. That's going to be a solo guitar, likely a radio effect. Add the chickas. Gotta add some chickas, of course. I think we are going to do a 7th harmony on that trill. It's gonna be sick. I've been listening to a lot of Malevolence lately, and this is probably something that they would do. That's so funny. Why is that so funny to me, man? Normally I'd throw something else like a tapping note in there, but just the extensive trilliness of it, it's just funny. I don't know. Okay, sick. That works. I'm not going to think too hard on that. Let's throw in some bass. I just gotta hit the right notes for the trill there, and we are golden. It's not as clean when the bass does the chickas too. This doesn't sound as clean, it doesn't feel as clean, so I'm not gonna have them in there. Okay, let's drag over a impact. Let's see how that sounds. Okay, so fun fact, I actually don't like some of the reverb provided in Neural DSP's products. So what I'll do is I'll kind of keep a little bit of reverb from their plugin here, but I'll add my own on top before the EQ. Just add a little bit of both. Okay, that was actually perfect. Imagine that like 6 decibels lower, obviously, in the mix. But if I had recorded that, if this was Logic, I would have hit a button and that would have been in the DAW already. I wouldn't have to do this over again because I didn't record that. I cannot believe I messed up that last note. Okay, so everything's looking really good, and I have one last idea before we go through the final playthrough. I'm looking at these chickas here towards the end of this breakdown. I want them to go da 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 da, left, right, left, right, left, right, Marine Corps. I'm gonna try that, and if it sucks, I can just revert it, and if it's not, then it's time well spent. Okay, in the context of everything, okay, that is complete garbage. I'm gonna revert all of that, but I'm not gonna revert it just yet. What I wanna do is have 1, 2, 3 on the left side now, and maybe 1, 2, 3 on the right side. I just have these ideas, and I have to try them. And if they fail, then I know I'm on the right path. Success, according to me, in my music, is just built off of 1,000 failures. Okay, it still sounds like crap. I don't like any of it. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest before we have this full listen through. Half of this is slap bass, half of this is picked bass, because in metal, it just needs to slap with a pick. I'm sure 99% of you don't care if I'm using my fingers, a pick, a carrot on the bass strings, but I just, for the 1% of you that I know that care about the sanctity of the bass guitar, this is for you. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I really want to have this full listen through too. So let us just hop right into it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for this episode of Rainquill Riffs. If you want to see more slap bass like this, more slap guitar, more slap drums, I got it. I upload Wednesday at 11 every single week. So until next time, peace.